20 Most Embarrassing NFL Moments. The NFL has evolved in so many ways over the years, and let's be real, there have been shameful moments that occurred along the way that the league most likely wants football fans to forget. From pooping on the field, to mortifying nip slips, to malicious bounty hunters. It's a whole circus out there. This video will be taking a look at some of the most humiliating moments in the sport. Are you ready? Let's go! Number 20. 4 consistent Super Bowl losses. Super Bowl losses aren't that much of a big deal. You do not get to win every time, but 4 back-to-back losses? Now that's bizarre. However, that was the sad and shameful case for the Buffalo Bills in the early 90s. The most embarrassing thing about the losses is the team had a potential to win at least one of those games, but they just screwed up at every single one of them. Talking about screwing games up, the next one had one player holding back tears. Number 19. Eli Manning in tears. Manning was undeniably a great quarterback when he was on the field, but he had an unimpressive season at some point and was benched for Geno Smith. Understandably, Manning took the change real hard, but it seems it hit him harder than fans initially suspected. When he was interviewed about his benching, he could barely hold back tears when talking about it. It was kind of embarrassing and heartbreaking. Know what's more embarrassing? A missing player on the eve of a Super Bowl. Number 18. The time Barrett Robbins went AWOL. As sad as this is, it's actually rather hilarious. It was the day before the Super Bowl 37, but Oakland Raiders Pro Bowler Barrett Robbins was nowhere to be found. He finally showed up and he was definitely not in a stable state. Hence, he was left off the roster and the Oakland Raiders recorded a loss to the Buccaneers. The question now is, did the team lose mainly because of Robbins' absence? Well, no, but his absence definitely contributed to the loss. The initial reason for his absence was that he had forgotten to take his antidepressant medications. However, it was pretty mortifying for the league when it was discovered that he was actually on a drinking binge in Tijuana. After the Super Bowl drama, the player was never the same again. From his bipolar diagnosis, to punching a mother and a child, to throwing a rock at an employee after refusing to pay, to attempted murder charges, to being charged for involvement in drugs. It was a really sad end to an otherwise illustrious career. As bad as attempted murder sounds, it is nothing compared to the real deal. Hold on to your socks for number 2. Number 17. Stanley Wilson's drug addiction. The NFL is a tough place for many and can be pretty overwhelming. Hence, a notable number of players often resort to the use of drugs and steroids to get by, and sadly, the league is not lenient to such ones. It prefers to get rid of them rather than assist them to recover. That was the case with poor Stanley Wilson, who ruined his pro football career due to his cocaine addiction. After being banned for 2 seasons for violating the drug policies of the league, on the eve of Super Bowl 23, he was found sniffing cocaine in the bathroom. That was the limit of the league's patience. He was taken off the roster immediately and banned for life. Number 16. Eugene Robinson's misguided moral compass. Eugene wasn't on drugs, but it makes us wonder if he was. What better explanation for what he did? Imagine being named the high moral character, then moving on to solicit a prostitute the night before Super Bowl 33. He legitimately left his wife at the team hotel to seek pleasure in the streets the night before the game. What could have pushed him to make such a move? Even if he had a fight with his wife that night, that was surely not the next move. Unfortunately for him, the prostitute was actually an undercover cop, and his night did not go right. Having a terrible night, he went to the Super Bowl with poor spirit, dragging the team down with his poor performance. Number 15. Thomas Hollywood Henderson's drug habit. Just like Wilson, the Dallas Cowboys' Henderson had a drug habit that affected his performance on the field. Get this, when the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Steelers in Super Bowl 13, it was not even embarrassing. The real embarrassing event of the game was when Henderson forced a Terry Bradshaw fumble, and the credit for that goes to his own special energy drink consisting of water and cocaine. Moving on to number 14, the NFL had a brain fart on this one. Number 14. The Miller Experiment. It is easy to understand what the league was trying to do when comedian Dennis Miller was hired as a commentator for Monday Night Football in 2000. As great as the idea must have seemed to the person who pitched it, it was terrible in practical terms. It would have been wise if the idea was left at the hypothesis stage. There was no need to materialize it. After 2 seasons of incomprehensible references, commentary, and jokes, the league finally put an end to the fans' agony by ending the gig. Stay tuned for number 8, where every athlete's worst nightmare occurred. Number 13, the Whizzinator. We're back to the drug habits of NFL players, but hilariously, this player took his drug habit up a notch. Ontario Smith legitimately carried a drug test kit that comes with a fake penis and dried urine to the airport in 2015 in an attempt to beat a drug test. Wait a minute, what was he thinking? It is doubtful that he was thinking at all, but he sure made a lot of antics at the expense of the league's reputation. Number 12, the infamous nip slip. As much as this wardrobe malfunction occurred at halftime, it still stained Super Bowl 38. Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson were delivering an awesome performance when Timberlake tore Jackson's clothes to reveal her breast. The stunt gone wrong was a bad reflection on the league. Number 11, an arrogant slip of the tongue. Talking about slips, Howard Cosell's mouth got the best of him. No kidding, Cosell was an excellent broadcaster, but he committed career suicide when he referred to Alvin Garrett as a little monkey. The remark was labeled as racist, and just to make things worse, Cosell stood by what he said and refused to apologize. Instead, he defended his words by emphasizing that it was an affectionate term that he used for his grandchild. Number 10, Haynesworth's crazy stomp. Albert Haynesworth is known as a pretty dominant defensive tackle sometimes, but at other times, he is just one troubled player. In a game in 2006, he had gone on a rampage and stomped the head of the Dallas Cowboys' Andre Garrod after the Cowboys scored. Honestly, what possessed him? Unfortunately, that was not the shameful part of the incident. The vicious stomp, which opened a wound requiring 30 stitches, wasn't enough to eject him out of the game. It was only after he threw his helmet in protest of this 15-yard penalty that further action was taken. Was the game even governed at all? Number 9. The clownery of Leon Lett. Lett is undeniably a good defensive tackle, but unfortunately for him, fans have a selective memory. Hence, his mistakes are still quite fresh in the minds of many. For one, he allowed Don Beebe to knock a recovered fumble out of his hands. He also picked up a blocked field goal attempt, handing the victory to the Miami Dolphins. Now, to number 8. The on-field poop. What better way to say this than, Chris Godwin had the shit literally knocked out of him. The wide receiver was just trying to make a name for himself in his rookie season, but he did more than just avoid tackles when the Buccaneers were against the Vikings. He had to change his underwear. When he was knocked over, a brown stain could be seen on his white knickers that pretty much looked like a poop stain to everyone. Poor Godwin. That must have been embarrassing for him. Number 7. The night getaway. As embarrassing as the poop incident was, it was nothing compared to what Robert Irsay, Colts owner, pulled off while the people of Baltimore slept. He was unable to get a new stadium in Baltimore, so the next thing he did was pack up and sneak off to Indianapolis in the dark. Dude, what were you thinking? We might have to ask Marshall the same question. Number 6. Marshall's brain fart. This incident was so funny that it was almost unbelievable that it happened. Jim Marshall picked up a fumble in the game against the 49ers and just ran in the wrong direction, and he didn't stop until he went all the way to the very end zone. He was trying to protect and celebrate what he thought was a touchdown. There are just no words for that. Be prepared for more shock as we step into number 5. Number 5. The locker room axe. Well, there's a reason metaphors are meant to stay as metaphors. However, the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars at the time didn't think this way. Del Rio placed an actual stump and an axe in the locker room for the players to chop at, and in an attempt to keep chopping wood, Chris Hansen cut his leg instead. Hopefully, metaphors will be allowed to stay in the NFL now. You might have heard this next one, but it still deserves a top spot on the list. Number 4. Spygate. The Patriots are no doubt the representation of success in the modern NFL. All the more the Spygate scandal was mortifying for them. The team was disciplined for taping the Jets' coaches. Plus, when the team was investigated, the NFL destroyed materials gotten from them. That made the whole situation more sus and embarrassing for the league. You think this was mortifying? Wait till you see the next. Number 3. Bountygate. The scandal was not only embarrassing but despicable. Apparently, the Saints and their coaches, along with a number of players, were involved in a bounty system that rewarded game-ending injuries inflicted on rival players on the field. It's a surprise Greg Williams was still allowed in the sport after that. Football is dangerous enough. It doesn't need Hunger Game incentives to ruin the careers of unknowing players. This next one on the list perfectly toes the balance of dark and shameful. Number 2. O.J. Simpson. This former running back was a great player during his time, and he was the first running back to ever rush for 2,000 yards in a season. Sadly, the only legacy he'll be leaving behind is that of a murderer. Although Simpson was acquitted of the charges in a courtroom, he was found guilty of the death of his ex-wife Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman in the court of most public opinion. What a shame for the league to have one of its star players go down as a murderer. Number 1. Love Boat Scandal. What could be more embarrassing than an NFL orgy? This was really humiliating for the league when the news of a sex party was leaked in 2005. The players rented houseboats and had about 100 women present to perform sexual acts with in front of the crew. What were they thinking? What other moments do you think deserve a spot on this list? Slide into the comments below to let us know. Thanks for tuning in.